What's up everybody, Runescape Historian here, and today we're going to talk about luring. We're going to talk about the lures that happened before the Wilderness Ditch, all the way up until the tactics lures use nowadays. I hope you enjoy, and yeah, let's hop right in. Before we get started though, if you enjoy these types of videos and want to see 2 to 3 of these or more a week, you can go ahead and subscribe and do all the typical YouTube stuff that helps me out. Other than that, I'm not going to waste too much of your time, so let's proceed. It's unclear exactly which date that lures started. I assume they started all the way back in Runescape Classic because people have always kind of been scumbags. But today we're just going to be covering the ones in very early RuneScape 2 from probably 2004 and above. Like most lures, these first series of lures took advantage of people's greed, naivety, and unfamiliarity with game mechanics. And you have to kind of wonder, in hindsight, of course hindsight is 2020, but you really got to wonder because some of these people were advanced players. You pretty much have to be an advanced player to have what these people were getting lured for, Halloween masks, Santa hats, that type of stuff. So because of that, I don't see too many of them being youngsters. I don't see too many of these people at the time being like 10 years old because of how advanced their gear was and how much money they had at the time. Of course, that's not to say younger people like 8, 9, 10 couldn't have been pretty decent at the game. It was just uncommon back then. So having said that, since most of them were probably 13 plus years old at the time, how believable is it when someone says, bring your best items, bring all your noted unidentified herbs, bring your cash stack, bring your holiday rares, your discontinued items, and come across this ditch. I want you to come across this ditch. It just so happens to be in level 1 to 2 wilderness, and I'm just giving away these coins for free. I mean, how believable is that? That's not believable at all. It's kind of goofy. But people fell for it anyways due to their own greed, and that's why we're here today. He would even lure after the Wilderness Ditch was implemented. The Wilderness Ditch seemed to be implemented due to people like him that would lure people because there was no barrier. So you'd go from non-wilderness to boop, you can get attacked by multiple people within an instant. This really hurt players who were maybe experienced in other areas of the game but didn't know full game mechanics on the wilderness and such. Maybe they thought, oh, what are the chances of a person that's within 1 or 2 combat levels of me being in this exact spot, because the Peking spot that he brought him to wasn't too common. But what they didn't know is JoJo 3000 and like-minded lurers would be constantly communicating with 1 or more attackers who would freeze, teleblock, and just attack and kill the person while they were going for the coins. Also, the coins back then, and they still do today, if it's 10k or above, 10k on the ground looks the exact same as 2 bill on the ground. The icon is the same on the ground, so they thought they were getting this massive cash stack when in reality it was like 10k and 1 GP. What's crazy too is the counterplay behind a lot of these depending on the distance they dropped the coins at. You could just telegrab it and really screw them over. This type of counterplay is in stark contrast to the things you have to do today to outsmart the lurers. You have to do some pretty advanced stuff and have some decent knowledge of game mechanics for the most part to anti-lure most of the modern lures. That about covers the Wilderness Ditch lure and the Wilderness lure before the ditch. They work the same way. You have a talker that convinces them to go pick up the coins and attackers that run in the moment they go to pick up the coins. The reason this was so profitable is because things like the Halloween masks, the party hats, Santa hats, they all had a high alchemy value of like 1 GP. Back in the day, what you kept on death was actually determined by this high alchemy GP. This literally meant if you were carrying bronze items and a Santa hat, you would keep the bronze items and lose the Santa hat. In hindsight, it doesn't make any sense of why they did this, but yeah, that's why this was so profitable, and JoJo 3000 and his cohorts made off with billions of gold due to this mechanic. So this is going back to the JoJo lures. This is actually pretty sad. This person actually got lured for their party hat, but they still, in hindsight, don't understand. If you look at what they're saying here, let me just turn it on real quick. So if you look at what they're saying, eventually it's something along the lines of, why did I do it? He dropped 192 mil right in front of me, but buddy, he actually didn't. It's more than likely 10k. He didn't drop 100 mil in front of you. He's not going to risk that. Like, I don't know, people are just naive. They're so naive, and it's sad that these lures get to take advantage of them, and they even do it nowadays with various lures, which I'll get into. Yeah, see, he says he laid 192 mil in front of me. No, he didn't. You know, granted, this person could have been super young when they made this video, but it's more of like a response video to JoJo's lures. But it's just sad. The next iteration of lures that ran from 2005 to about 2007, you see some modern day versions of this. It's just pretty uncommon. It's more with like teletabs, and they even have a warning on them now, the Ice Plateau teletabs. But back in the day, you could just use the Lunar Spell tele group and go to Ice Plateau. You would have a person advertising free stuff or a drop party. They'd get a bunch of noobs following them. They'd get like a handful of noobs. They would teleport to Ice Plateau and wait for people to accept the teleport, and they would have a couple friends, a couple attackers there, and they would kill anyone who teleported to Ice Plateau because, of course, as we know, it's level 50 wilderness, which means a ton of level ranges can attack you. You can see the scumbags in this video making away with some pretty decent profit. The counter to this was just to turn your accept 8 off, or you could just ignore the teleport and decline it. There were a few slight variants to this lure, but overall this is how it worked 90% of the time. You gather up a bunch of noobs, telegroup Ice Plateau, and yeah. So this footage that I showed of the Ice Plateau was from 2007, but this lure was around a little bit before that. This was just one of the few clips I could find that was this early and also not recorded with a potato or from someone's butt. So this lure is actually pretty interesting. It's, you know, you're like, oh, something cool's down in the Lumbridge Caves, and you don't tell them to bring a light source, or if you do, you give them like a shitty light source that's not lit, or one that will go out when you lead them through a certain area, like they drop, and their light source goes out, and of course they die due to the skittering insects. You can see here, this little asshole and his black mystic and D-skin lured this poor guy down here. They die, and with the old death mechanics, you see his stuff instantly drop and he gets them. Like that boater right there that person's wearing. Yeah, the wall beast is gonna... Oh, that person actually knew the mechanic where you go one square in front of the wall beast. The scammer's actually stupid. He got grabbed by it. You go one square in front of the wall beast and then just run, and then it just ignores the wall beast. But yeah, that blue boater that person's wearing was probably worth 200k at the time, which is not bad. And the person has no idea. They're like, well, I'm dead. And you could see the talker communicating in the private chats. These people are just turds. They're just rats, man. So I guess the other... No, she actually didn't lose anything. These guys are dumb. This next clip is going to be the Elemental Rock Lure. I'll play it for you really quick. This was the best quality video I could find. This is actually on old school. However, it worked the same way back in 06. See, he's telling the dude to drop everything. You can see to the south of him is actually open, so it's like, okay, I can just go back and get my stuff if he takes too long. Because basically what they were, or what they did rather, was say, oh, trade me for free 20 mil, but first you have to drop your stuff in this specific square. And then they would stall, like you see him doing here. He's being super slow about it. He finally puts the cash stack up, but he never accepts it. The rock has now spawned back. The dude does not have a pickaxe. They made sure of that. Now he's going to use mithril seeds to bypass the rock, and he is now home free, and he's free to pick up all of his crap. This is actually a luring clan. Bunch of turd bags as usual, but you see the dude raging over there, rightfully so, calling them POSs, and they're just like, thank you, dude, 102 mil. It's that easy for these guys. You know, it takes in-game players on old school now probably 50 hours if they do Vorkath to make 102 mil roughly with no uniques, and these people back then, before Vorkath, were raking in much more than that. Just greedy, man. 102 mil, let's see if it actually is. I guess his friend picked it up. Yeah, that's sad. But yeah, this was another very popular one they would try and do. Alright, so this next lure had many variants. I'm going to show you this one. The dude has 4 mystic tops on him. Why is that? Well, remember that high alchemy value I was telling you about earlier? Well, the mystic tops had a high alchemy value of around, I think, 100k-ish. The whip that the guy's hitting him with only had a high alch value of around 80k, 82k to be exact, if I remember correct. So even though the guy with the whip is not Scold, he is still going to lose it if he picks up the mystic top. And this guy's pretending to be a complete and total noob. He's luring him, if you notice, right into multi. Everything is calculated. He's communicating with his friends, probably over voice chat, which at the time would have been Ventrilo. I don't know if TeamSpeak was around back then. Discord and Skype definitely weren't. The guy's saying woot, but now it goes to the attackers. They see the same guy, boom, It's above 20 wilderness, a lot of people didn't bring glory, so he's not going to teleport. Plus, they probably threw a TB at him, and look, whip, even though he was unskulled. And that's generally how this lure went, and it had multiple variants. While I was researching, I stumbled across this. It just cracked me up because it's like, it needs no skills to kill you, like they're freaking Gollum or something. Like, it takes the precious. But anyways, yeah, I don't know what these guys are talking about. It doesn't really seem like a lure. It seems like they're just luring certain people. I think Tazar Owens was like a good PKer back then. But they're literally just, you know, trying to fight people one-on-one and then luring them into multi. So it's not like your traditional lure where they manipulate and do that sort of stuff. They're literally just pulling them into multi. So not really a lure, but I guess a literal lure. You're literally luring them into multi, like where your team sets. But yeah, I just thought that part was funny, the way they talk. So in the next lure, it ran from when Chinchompas were released to a little bit thereafter. They would be like, hey, come here, I'm making a video. And they would let them attack. They'd be like, let me attack first so I skull. That's why the main lure in the Black D-Hide has a skull. It's to lure the other guy into a false sense of security, like, oh, he already skulled on me, there's no way I can skull. But he doesn't bother to ask why the hell there's some other goober sitting beside him. But he gives him a Chinchompa and says, hey, attack me. I already attacked you, so you won't skull, right? And the guy equips the Chinchompa right there, boom, but it hits his little goober friend beside him and the guy claws him out. Boom, free Dragon Plate body, whip, and Dragon Plate legs on the ground. Multiple variants and multiple timelines for this lure, but it essentially started when Chinchompas were released with the Hunter skill, and went on a few years after that. A few people are actually kind of wise to this. I don't even know if it works anymore. I'll have to look that up and tell you in the next clip if it does. But you can see how profitable this was. So this does still look like it works. It doesn't say it doesn't work anymore. But yeah, I think people are just a little wiser to this due to the age of it. They would rather fall for people typing at the Grand Exchange telling them to just give them their stuff. You don't even need to trick them anymore. Alright, this is the... oh my lord. It's my first time, like, watching this footage, and the jump cuts are just freaking terrible. I'll have to edit some of those out. That's so bad. That's giving me a migraine. So this person's just an overall ass. Giving people headaches and luring people. So this is the Temple of Ikov area right above the Boots of Lightness spawn. At this stage in the lure, it looks like the person has already dropped their stuff downstairs. They have come up, and they're now... you know, they told them to either extinguish their candle or they're trying to get it from them. And if you go down there with an extinguished candle, I guess they took their tinderbox is what they did. If you try and go down there, you can't walk more than a few steps, and it's very hard, if not impossible, to find the items that you dropped, because it puts you in another instance separate from the area that you actually dropped your items in. And then the lure with their light source goes down and picks up your stuff. And if you notice, he flashes him 10 mil briefly just to kind of stall and just drag it out a little bit longer so he can ensure that their items actually spawn, and there's absolutely no way that they can get them back from him. Alright guys, so the Temple of Ikov actually had another lure back then. Again, this footage is on old school because I like the quality of that rather than the quality of like other videos from 07, 06. Essentially, you need negative weight to cross the bridge, so they're like, hey, cross over. You'll be able to cross right back, it's no big deal, and then you can pick up your stuff, and I'll give you this money. They usually have a friend that throws either a gnome ball or a snowball at the victim, causing their weight to jump up above that negative amount and have them fall completely off, meaning they can't recross. Alright guys, for this next scumbag lure, we find ourselves at Fight Arena. The lurers themselves have probably not done Fight Arena. This is my first time actually watching this. But they have the luring victim showing their Ellie and their bandos, Cash Shack and Primordials. If you notice, there's a person splashing a bald Khazard guard out there. So as of right now, the person can get in and out, no problem, right? But the Fergus guy, I'm just going to call him that, the guy with the green text on his name, has actually completed Fight Arena. So watch the splasher over to the north, watch what he does while this guy's stalling. Yeah, see? He brings the Khazard guard over to where it's in eyesight of the door, so it can see the guy try and go back in, and this guy has completed the Fight Arena quest. So if you notice the guy knows something's up, watch him turn to the door. He can't get in the door, because it'll say something to the effect, you killed the General Khazard's pet. Yeah, you'll pay for that mistake. See that? You can't get in. And the lure or the splasher, it doesn't really matter. Usually it's the lure. Let's see what they do. Yeah, the lure is free to literally go in, and he's gonna spam click. I don't know who iDuke is. That might just be one of that guy's friends, or he could be in on the lure as well. But this guy looks like he has priority. Yeah, look at all that. Free Ellie and Bandos. That's absolutely insane off of that lure. That's so dumb. I don't even know like why you would have an Ellie in your possession. You must be an advanced player or you real world trade. I'm not trying to speculate here, but either way, you should know not to trust people like this. This is insane. God damn. Alright guys, so this footage is old. You get a low level to follow you. This guy's just kind of innocently trolling, I think. I don't think this guy's like a professional grade lurer. I think he's just a troll. But there were some professional grade lurers that did this. You would get a low level, come and trade, be like, oh help me, I'll give you 100k, try and grab the wine. You can see there's probably a wine bot sitting there. And the guy needs to collect it, and when he does, the monks will all pile on, yeah look, and they attack him. Yeah, he didn't get anything out of it, he just thought it was funny, but some people did back in the day, and they would lure what was known as skilling pures, which are level 3s that don't train combat. They would try and get them to do it, and they would die very quickly, and they would try and get their rares. So there are a few other lures that happened in the era of 2004 to 2007 RuneScape. If I wanted to delve in on those, this would be like an hour-long video, and I don't know if you guys would be up for that. So I'm going to cut out a few of the other ones. They're mainly Intrana lures. This one is around 2008 to 2010, maybe a little bit thereafter. It's known as the Red Portal lure. You didn't know at Clan Wars back in the day, the Red Portal didn't really give you much warning, and on death your items were dropped. Whereas in the normal Clan Wars portal or the White Portal, you would die and keep all your stuff because it was just a fun thing to do. You'd play a PvP minigame essentially. So they're luring him to the very corner of the Red Portal. More than likely, based on the gear this person has, flowers, they do it to seem like less threatening, and just the way this lure works, it's a lot easier if you have a friend. And they'll drop money or whatever. They more than likely have a friend to the north. This is my first time watching it with you guys, but that's essentially how it worked. And they would make sure the person had, you know, quite a bit of value on them, whether it be money or armor. Many party hats, among other things, were lost this way to players. So the guy's being kind of skeptical. He's got some pretty legit armor. He's got full dragon, obsidian shield. That's... You had that armor back in 2006, you were like a god. So the coins haven't appeared yet, that's also why he's not moving. They take a little bit to appear to him. He's got a team cape though, a yellow team cape. I'm gonna have to dock him a few points for that. But yeah, you can see him communicating with either, let me see here. He's communicating with either his friend, no, he's communicating with the victim via private message. His friend is probably on a voice chat with him. And he's probably telling him something along the lines of, get ready, this idiot's probably about to go pick up the coins. And they should be appearing any moment now. Yeah, you can even see the green dot to the north. You can even see the dot to the north. And he's probably going to get frozen. There you go, it hit. And there we go. The barrage animation around this time was so weird. As well as the damage hit splats being like 300s and whatnot. So yeah, he runs in with the Staff of Light and all that other stuff. Wonder if they're going to put the value they lured once he picks it all up. I'm kind of curious of what it was. Because I think the, nope, that's lame. So moving right along here, we have another lure from around the 2011 to 2012 era of RuneScape. You can see this guy has an Abyssal Whip in his inventory, but the red orb means it's lent. And I assume the guy that he's fighting is the person who lent him the item. Now watch this, they're gonna kind of punch. I don't know how the hell he got this guy out here. Probably was like, I'm making a video, but at the last minute, watch what he does. You'll get to what I'm like trying to explain here in a second. Auto retaliate off. Eventually he's going to use that Abyssal Whip, because back then you used the item back on the original owner to give it back to them early if you wanted to. Check it out. Boom. And he got him to that low of HP so he wouldn't have time to react and slap on a protect item. And people did this for big ticket items too, such as AGS's D-Claws. Alright, here's kind of a compilation of how the lure looked with more high valued items. He uses the Bandos chestplate, if you caught that. I guess he told them they were doing a RuneScape music video over 3 Days Grace Animal I've Become. I guess that's why he said that as he died. That's just sad. Getting him low, and there you go, boom. Bandos Godsword. That was actually worth about 30 million back around this time. So most of these people were probably pretty close with them, or they were just random people in World 2 that were using the lending system. There was actually a section at the Grand Exchange specifically for lending, so some of these people were probably strangers to them. Either way, it's sad. And I noticed while doing my research and, looking up multiple videos, articles, old forum posts, that a lot of these people try and justify it by saying, oh, they bought all this with real money. I mean, but there's really no way of these people to know that. Like, it just seems a way to justify their crappy actions, to be honest. And also, some of the comments on these were just toxic as hell. They have a toxic community behind them, so it leads me to believe they think what they're doing is funny and justified, and the people they're around in the community make them think it's okay to act this way and do this type of crap. But really, it is harming the community. On face value, it's not that big of a deal. And some of it might even be funny, but you gotta think, if this was a new player or someone that's only been playing a short while coming into the game, these people instantly turn away new players by acting this way. It's absolutely stupid. And you guys, if you caught any of their usernames or YouTube names in this and they still play, like if you add them, all I ask is that you don't harass them, because then we stoop down to their level, so they're not even worth harassing or messaging or anything like that. You're not going to get to them. And to give some of them the benefit of the doubt, some of the footage so far has been from early days, so they were a lot younger. Younger kids are very mean, so you can give some of them the benefit of the doubt if the footage is from like 2006, 2005, that era, even a little bit later. Little kids are just rude. So yeah, let's move on. So now that we've covered a few of the pre-EOC lures, as well as some of the old days, like 2006 or 2005 to 2008 lures, let's move into old school, because that's next on the list, coming out in 2013. Most of the lures nowadays simply involve PvP. That's their main aim. They want to try and somehow get you into a PvP world and get you into a dangerous zone via hopping. And they say, oh, stand on this in the bank, you're safe. And they'll do usually some form of animation stall and trade you. Shows the person that you're trading inside the bank. In reality, they are outside by quite a bit. This in turn, when you trade them, pulls you out of the bank. Yeah, this is sickening. This is just gross. And the comment section of these videos are just awful. And they can, they can spam my comments and get all butthurt that I'm bringing this out. But I mean, it is just sick. Like, it's just pathetic. You can see, yeah, all of the old school lures, and I'll research and find a few more that don't involve PvP, but most of them involve PvP. If someone's trying to get you to hop, take a Pharaoh Scepter, do anything weird, just don't. Don't even think you can anti-lure, because in most cases you can't. Because they have multiple types of lures going on at once, typically like 2 or 3 different ones. Yeah, again, this is another variant where they want you to dress up like them. Now switch into the mummy fast. Yeah. See, the guy with the mummy is the talker. He lured him to Barbarian Outpost, whatever you want to call it, Barbarian Assault, with a promise of all this money. But of course, I don't even understand like how people fall for this, but again, it's still not right. Like, they lure him out, yeah, because there's only like one square that you're safe, like in a PvP world. I think it's like right by that bank chest, like right in front of it. Everywhere else is not safe, to my knowledge. Yeah, one square away and he can be hit. Yeah, these people think they're so freaking slick with their dumbass edits and shit. God. But yeah, guys, to wrap all of this up in a nice little bow, most of the old school like lures are the ones I've already covered that were from the 2005 to 2008 era. A lot of those carried over to old school. Some of them have been patched, luckily. But always be cautious. If something sounds too good to be true, it is. Do not fall for any of this crap. If nobody or very few people fell for this crap, you would see less and less of these people. They're just scum. But anyways, guys, I'm sure there's a few lures that I did miss because these people are like cockroaches and they're constantly devising and scheming and coming up with new ways to manipulate people and steal their stuff. But if you like these types of videos and want to see 2 to 3 of these a week, you can go ahead and subscribe and do all the other typical stuff that helps me out. What do you guys think of these lures and lures? Do you think it's okay? If so, why? Leave it in the comments below. Alright guys, see ya.